All right, good morning, everybody. As we begin today, uh, there was pressure increasing on Graham Plattner to withdraw from the race as the Democratic Party was caught totally unaware of a new allegation of rape against the Democratic candidate running against Susan Collins for the senatorial seat in Maine. And we're going to talk about that, accused by a woman of rape. She came out and said this happened back in 2021. And there's been some discussion, and there's a religious aspect to it, but I think we just need to talk about this and what qualifies somebody to run and whether how serious we as people should take accusations, because there's been a lot of accusations made against Mr. Plattner, and just wondering, how we should, as voters, how serious we should take some of these, whether they're just an accusation to hurt somebody, whether they're true, whether they should be believed, etc. I'm Jerry O'Lennon. Alfredo Romero is the pastor of Rock of Life Fellowship, my co-host, and Bishop Peter Hansen of St. Augustine Anglican Church. So he's probably going to be forced to move out, and Democrats will bring in another candidate. And
Another unelection, right? Another event where
Right.
there's no election because the primaries are over.
Right, and this is what's kind of troubling, and maybe, and again, as we record this, a decision may have already been made for him to resign and to move to take himself out of the race. That's probably what's going to happen. But I'm of the mind that the voters elected him. They put him in. He denies the allegation. He says it's not true. He did not rape this woman. And so, to me, it's kind of the old adage, you're innocent until proven guilty, or at least you have enough evidence. People say there is enough evidence because there was corroborating evidence at the time that it happened. But you just don't know. You don't know what to believe. I mean, it could be the Democrats wanted to get this guy out of the race because he has so many other issues to contend with that maybe some of this is not truthful. I'm not saying it is or isn't, but it brings up that possibility. And I'm not sure how I feel about this because accusations are just accusations. What are your thoughts on this? I'll throw that to both of you guys.
Well, God only knows. You turn this around and say, has any similar accusations been cast upon Donald Trump? And oh my gosh,
Right,
he's
right.
racist, he's a rapist. They've said all these things about him, and they're self-proving. If they say it, it must be true. Except that the victims have not come forward because there aren't any.
Well, but you see, there is a case. E. Jean Carroll won a case, won $5.8 million because of an accusation she made, took it to court. Of course, this accusation happened 30 years ago, back in the 90s, which is just troublesome in itself. And whereas this accusation against Mr. Plattner happened, I guess, in 2021,
That's 5 years.
5 years ago. And so that there's a difference. But the point is that Trump still ran and he won. I mean, he had this, not just an accusation, it was a decision made by in a civil lawsuit against him. He lost, accused not of rape, be clear of that, not of rape, but he was accused of assault, sexual assault. Yet he runs and wins an election. I wouldn't say by a landslide, but he won by a relatively significant margin, more than people would have expected. So why shouldn't Plattner be given that same, I know courtesy wouldn't be the right word, but the same benefit of the doubt? That's kind of what I'm wondering.
He can. I mean, I think that they're pretty much. I'm talking about the Democrats. They support him no matter what. I watched an interview this morning on a news station. There's an actor named Jon Favreau. He's now a big director, Spider-Man, Marvel movies, the whole thing. And he defended him. He came out and said they called it a Grammarly, and I don't know what that means. A family with Plattner. I don't know what that means, but I'm actually looking at the article. It says Favreau publicly supports Plattner, stating that the local Grammarly has his back through the hard times and focus on building grassroots support across the state. So what I'm trying to say is, it seems like no matter what, they're going to support him. The Democratic side, no matter what he does, they're going to support him. And that brings up to the hypocrisy. And the hypocrisy is, boy, if a Republican had a tattoo that was allegedly a Nazi tattoo,
We'd never hear it again.
we'd never hear the end.
Well,
Right.
I'm glad you brought that up. The Babylon Bee, which is a great satire source, came out with a headline, and of course it's made up news. Dems wishing there had been some sort of sign that Plattner was a bad person, and they make up a quote from somebody on the Democratic side saying, boy, I wish there was a mark on him or something that would let us know what a creep he is. It's such a shock. And of course, the mark they're talking about is a Nazi-like tattoo on his chest. And so there were plenty of warning signs about this man, some of the odd things, the texting he's done. Yet the but you know what the reality is? He was still voted in. I mean, it's that matters. He got the votes, and if people, the people who decide who their candidate's going to be, decides, you know, we're just going to brush these things off. These things aren't important to us. I don't understand why he should be forced to resign if he is still claiming his innocence. And I don't say that as a Democrat or as a Republican. I just say that as somebody who's trying to be fair down the middle. People make accusations. It doesn't mean they're true. People, you know, I mean, granted, this happened just 5 years ago, allegedly. So I'm kind of mixed on this.
I don't know the law. I mean, who owns his position in this election? Does he himself or does the party?
He has to resign.
He would personally have to.
He would have to, because he won. He got the most votes. It was actually a primary, and he won. He beat a more moderate candidate in the Democratic primary, and so he's the candidate. And the only way for and it's up to him. And the pressure is building because so many Democrats are, and there is some concern that the Republicans have more dirt on him, and that they're not the ones that release this information, because they wanted to have this guy run against Susan Collins, who's a moderate Republican. So it wasn't the Republicans that did this. It was probably the Democrats somewhere that got this woman, perhaps, I'm not saying that happened, to bring out this accusation. And so I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know if I have an opinion on it.
I'd like to be able to say there's one thing about him that's attractive to me, but I don't find one. He is repellent to me.
But if that's you do know there are people on the left who would say the exact same thing about Donald Trump.
Oh, and they do.
Repellent.
Yeah, what was the quote you said earlier, before the show, I believe, about Stephen King?
Yeah, I want to talk real quickly about Stephen King. He's from Maine, of course, famous author. He came out and said that he hopes that Plattner does not end his campaign. He referenced President Trump and the numerous allegations made against him over the years, calling him the abuser in chief. Oh, that's creative.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I mean, he has his opinion. There's a lot of people that have that opinion, and maybe there's something to it. It's not my place to say. The president has consistently denied the allegations against him, even though he was found guilty by a federal jury for sexual abuse and defamation of writer E. Jean Carroll. Now, in a second post, and this is where it gets interesting. Tell you what, and this is him in his post. Tell you what, if you knew the whole truth about everyone in the Senate and House of Representatives, those chambers would be dead empty. And then he goes on to quote Jesus. Let him without sin cast the first stone, which of course provoked hundreds of comments criticizing Stephen King, accusing him of misunderstanding scripture and defending sexual assault. Okay. How do you answer someone who says that when they use Jesus' name like that? First of all, is that if he's misrepresenting what Jesus said, is that taking Jesus' name in vain in a way? If that's what he's doing? Or is he just misinterpreting what Scripture is? We hear this a lot.
Well, I'll back off of taking his name in vain, but the misuse of Scripture, of course. I mean, nobody's telling us to take Graham Plattner out and stone him to death. Yeah. It's just a matter of whether he is qualified to stand for election, or he's shown his character enough to be able to be set down. It's a different standard altogether. Mm-hmm. So nobody's throwing stones. I love the misquote of Matthew's gospel, where we're to judge not, lest we be judged. Therefore, we're not to have courts. We're not supposed to arrest anybody. We're not supposed to call anything criminal.
Right. So
everybody's fair game for anybody who wants to abuse them.
I think that a lot. Like I remember when we were looking for a babysitter when our kids were young. Of course we judged. Of course we looked into their background and we decided, this person would not be a good person to take care of our children.
Sure.
And we found somebody who we judged to be wonderful for them, and Elizabeth is her name, and She was just wonderful. She's like an older sister to our kids. So we judge all the time, and we judge when we decide who we're going to hire, who we're going to not hire. In the business world, we judge all the time. So when people say we don't judge, we all judge.
I always get a kick out of people that do not have a relationship with Christ, people that don't confess a relationship with Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. And whenever there's a situation like this, they quote the Bible. They'll quote in those specific verses. Mm-hmm. Oh, you can't judge. Didn't Jesus say to me, oh, let he who has sinned cast the first stone? Didn't Jesus say to love everyone? And
drink a little wine for thy stomach's sake.
Yeah, but they quote a Bible they don't believe in and to a Savior they deny. And why that bothers me is because we as Christians, I'm not walking around, they just do it to throw stuff at us, right?
Right.
But I'm not walking around quoting the world's quotes, I'm not, get it while you can get it and while it can be done. And I'm not, I'm not quoting what Confucius or Buddha or anybody, but yet non-believers will quote Christians, and it's only to throw something back in our face.
Sure.
And it is always out of context.
All right.
So what do you think Graham Plattner should do? Should he step aside? No, now he may have already done this. This is such of an ongoing event. It could happen at any moment where he's going. If he did, should he have? If he hasn't, should he?
I'd like him to stay in.
I kind of do too, but not because I like Susan Collins, because I think Susan Collins, I like her. I like the way she thinks. I think she's a good candidate. I think she's a good person, and I think that she's very reasonable, and her opinions don't always agree with them, but I think she's a good person for Maine. Mm-hmm. So I would like to see her do well, but I would like to see him stay in, because I don't think an accusation should be enough to warrant somebody being forced to leave, especially when you've already received all those votes and won the primary.
That's the way they play politics these days. You get somebody up there and you want to, it's usually for the other side you lob these bombs over, but it's the October surprise, Mm-hmm. It's become a thing, our local politician, what was his name, Bob
Mulholland.
Mulholland.
Oh,
he was a master of it.
He was. God rest his soul, but he played politics rough and tumble.
He did.
We're going to take a break. We're going to talk about rock and roll music. The Rolling Stones are making a comeback, and they're pretty old. We'll be right back. All right, we're going to turn things over to our resident expert on all things rock and roll, Fredo Romero, the pastor of Rock of Life Fellowship. And you're telling us that the Rolling Stones are making a comeback. They have a really big, popular song out there. And I couldn't tell you. I know Satisfaction. That's as far back as I go. That's like 50 years ago. But
60.
Yeah, Beast of Burden. I used to love that song. Good beat to it. I can't help you with this. What's the name of the song?
There's actually a new album coming out tomorrow. It's called Foreign Tongues, and they released the song about, I'd say, 3 weeks ago, and it's called In the Stars. Now, the reason why this is making news, because the Rolling Stones have released a couple of albums over the last 10 years or so, and they've done okay among the older generation rock and roll. I think, but the big thing that's happening now is this one's making some noise. Number one, the song In the Stars is a basic rock love song, and but it's being used as one of the official songs for the FIFA World Cup. Now, what's making it super popular right now is that there is a video out. It's you can look it up on YouTube. It's called In the Stars, and it's this raucous, really kind of feel-good rock and roll song. I love you. It's in the stars. You were meant to be. And there's probably 60, 70 young people just dancing to, and there's the Rolling Stones in the midst of them singing the song. But what makes it different is they're de-aged. It's the Mick Jagger of 1967.
Yeah.
It's Ron Wood and Keith Richards. While Keith Richards looked like he was still alive. So, but it's making noise, and it's one of the hottest tunes on Spotify and iTunes, etc.
I wish I had come up with it, but the term is the Rolling Bones at this point. I mean, we're all going to get old, and we're all going to get sick, and we're all going to die. But they're all of them are very slim, to put it very gaunt would be the word.
Yeah.
Nowadays, and how do you feel about? I know both of you are excellent musicians, and I know both of you are rockers that appreciate great 60s, 70s, 80s music like I do, but I don't have the knowledge of it as deeply as you do. Is this something that would be is a good thing that young people are getting into? Maybe our music a little bit, even if it means having to de-age somebody to get it done.
Our music never went away.
It didn't.
It's still better than anything they're producing as new music today.
It's true.
I agree.
Now I haven't heard this song yet, so I've got to rush off and listen to it and see how.
We see,
it
and I would
starts.
say that too about the music we had in the 40s and 50s before I was born. I mean, gosh, I mean Sinatra, Dean Martin, you know.
Big bands.
Oh yeah, the music still stands the test of time. You know, Elvis Presley, all of these in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. It started to get kind of not so good in the 90s. So it's not like one of those people who says only my music in the 80s and 70s are good. No, the music back in the 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s were good. And go far back as classical music with Bach and Beethoven and Mozart, I would say the same thing. I do. I'll tell you what made me happy. My son was on a trip to Europe, and you know, he went all over the place. It was part of a school program, and you know, so he had a great time, and he went to Abbey Road. Oh God, I was so jealous. I was so jealous that he was at Abbey Road, but what I liked is that he's 21 years old and he appreciates great rock and roll music that was made in the 60s and early 70s. Anyway.
Yeah, I think the difference now is, I mean, as a musician, my time was really the 80s, but I loved the 70s, 80s, and some of the 90s rock. Then something happened about 2000, and about 2000, it started changing to more of the pop, hip-hop, very, very pop music. I think what kind of ruined a diversity of music was what made it really popular was the studio abilities. Yeah, everybody, they're stopped recording live, and everything is manufactured by technology. They do auto-tune, so you never know. See, the big thing about it is that rock and roll needs to make a comeback, and maybe the Rolling Stones. Let me give you just a couple quick stats. In the Stars, the album comes out the 9th, I believe. The single In the Stars peaked at number 10 in the U.S., and it's still climbing. It's already number 1 in the U.K. So I love the fact that people are being exposed to diverse music. You turn on, I'm just going to rant for a second. You turn on any radio station right now, all the music sounds alike. I remember in the 80s, 90s, you never knew who was going to be on the chart. Number 1 could be Aerosmith, it could be Dolly Parton, Kenny Rogers, it could be Crystal Gayle, it could be the Eagles, it could be David Bowie, it could be Michael Jackson, Van Halen. You never knew what was going to be, and it was very, very diverse music, and we're missing that right now.
You see, what I don't know, I guess I agree with everything you're saying about the diversity of music. You're absolutely right. The question I have is why can't people just listen to the old music just the way it was back then? Because it's all new to the younger generation. I mean, if for somebody who's never was learned about the Beatles or the Rolling Stones. Rolling Stones have plenty of great music dating back all those years. The Beach Boys. You could go to all of these great Elvis, anybody. What I don't understand is why it's necessary to recreate these rock stars and de-aging them so that what's the purpose? Their music in the past, there's I mean, I look back at Elton John, and I watch an Elton John concert live once in a while, and I'll watch one of the songs, and I'm like, oh, that is so good. He does this live performance of Leave On, and I'm like, this is so good, Madman Across the Water. And I think, I don't need to recreate him digitally like what the Stones are doing. So I'm not sure I feel good about this, because I think it's unnecessary.
I would wonder how much AI is involved in this production. It's got to be a lot. My favorite Stones album was the Aftermath album, which had Going Home in it, but also Under My Thumb. That was the era that was in. The Stones came on as the sort of the extra bad boys of the Liverpool scene. The Beatles were more clean and sweet and love music, but the Stones came on doing Chuck Berry stuff.
There's more of a raunchiness to the Stones.
Absolutely, and they were a hard rock entity, and that's the way they got it. And I saw the Stones play once live, in the Oakland Coliseum. It was a show that started with the Jay Giles Band as a warm up.
Oh,
Nobody
Peter Wolf.
had heard of them. Ike and Tina Turner Review. Then B.B. King.
Wow.
And then you had to wait about an hour for them to get Keith Richards off the couch, and then they brought the Stones out, and they were phenomenal. I mean, it isn't that their music is all that great. It isn't really, but they're great showmen. And Mick Jagger put on a show, and you just had to watch.
I remember when back in the '70s when Zeppelin came out with "The Song Remains the Same," and it was a live concert movie, and it would be shown in. I don't know if maybe you don't remember this, but people would go to the theater to see "The Song Remains the Same."
I remember that.
And it was Zeppelin in concert. Just play that. Show them. Fix it up so it's not as grainy. Make it look clean. That would be great. Show that. You don't need to recreate Led Zeppelin. I'm sure there's great concert videos of the Rolling Stones that can be recycled and play that. I'm glad they have a new song out, but I do wonder how legitimate the song is.
I think people should go out and watch like a Complete Unknown, the movie that came out on Dylan this past year.
Right.
Oh.
You must see this.
Good movie.
It is really well done, and the guy who plays Dylan does all the singing himself, and he sings as though he's Dylan, and it's phenomenal. It's really great music.
Yeah, there's great biopics out there. People are exposed. Well, I'll tell you two things. They're exposed because of movies. Michael Jackson, Freddie Mercury, Queen's music got really hot, and so these movies do basically show the young people the music. But there is videos that you can see online where young people are listening to Elvis for the first time. It's a reaction video. Listening to Elvis for the very first time. Listen to the Beatles very first time. Listen to the Stones the very first time. Listen to Freddie Mercury the first time. And so these young people are getting exposed to it. I like the AI, and the reason why I like the AI, because AI is not in their music. There's a video out, the making of this new album, where they're just playing rock and roll music in a studio. But they used AI to open up a brand new audience. Now, I think what the question is going to be, what's going to happen when these kids, there's this great new band out there, the Rolling Stones, they're so cool. I like that lead singer. And then they look him up, they find out he's 81 years old. So,
Well,
and the same thing is happening, and I want to stay on the music thing, but the same thing is happening with movies too. Younger people sometimes, my son is a film major, and he'll watch old movies and I encourage him to watch, and he really likes them. We just watched There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis, very good movie. And you're starting to see young people maybe gravitating towards seeing some of the old classics. And maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part or on our part when it comes to music and movies, different types of arts that we celebrated. And maybe it's because the stuff that they're churning out now is just garbage.
it's all Marvel Comics, everything.
Right, there's no movie.
You can't even get away from it, and it's all so phony.
Scorsese had it right. It's not even filmmaking.
it's not. It's all AI image. Matter of fact, they're churning out so many of them that the last several have bombed. Supergirl bombed. Superman didn't do that great. The Immortals, I think it was called, that bombed. People are tired of. And the movies that are doing really well are the independent movies.
you
George
go.
Washington just came out this last
I wanna
weekend,
see that.
and it's doing very well. It even beat Supergirl in some of the markets.
Great.
So we're starving for original content,
Yeah.
and I'm tired of the AI stuff.
I just go back in my old DVD closet and find
Yeah.
the greatest films I know.
Unfortunately, we're starving for time. We are out of it.
All right.
And I want to thank Bishop Peter Hansen
You're welcome.
of St. Augustine Anglican Church. Their service time is 10 o'clock on Sunday morning if you're looking for a home church. And, of course, Rock of Life Fellowship. They also have a service time at 10 o'clock over on Dominic Drive. I want to thank both of you for this interesting conversation, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Take good care and so long.